Imagine you need some critical information, right? We're talking weather forecasts, school materials, news, but you just can't get to it. For millions of people, that digital world we live in is completely out of reach. But what if the solution wasn't some brand new expensive network? What if it was a new way to use the one we've all had for decades?
Okay, so let's get right into it. This chart here tells a really powerful story. In a country like India, basic voice coverage, just making a call on 2G or 3G, reaches a staggering 98% of the population. That is pretty much everyone. But then look at that other bar. Reliable data coverage, high-speed internet in those remote areas? Yeah, that is a completely different picture. This right here is the digital divide in a single image. It's this massive gap between who can talk and who can truly connect.
So how do you even begin to bridge a gap that big without spending billions on new infrastructure? Well, turns out you get clever. You find an answer that's literally floating over the air. So let's meet the hero of our story, Vidya Sarthi.
And the name itself is just perfect. Vidya Sarthi translates to education charioteer, and that's exactly what it is. Its mission is to be a kind of chariot, carrying essential knowledge, things like tutorials and news, to people who've been left on the wrong side of that digital divide. And it does all this using nothing more than a simple phone call.
Now this is where you really see the game-changing difference. The traditional way we get online, right, it requires a data plan and usually a pretty fast, stable connection. Vidya Sarthi just throws that entire rulebook out the window. All it needs is a basic phone signal, remember that 98% coverage we just saw, and voice minutes, which for a ton of people are already unlimited anyway.
Okay, so you're probably wondering how on earth is this even possible? How do you turn a voice call into actual web content? This is where the real magic happens. Let's pull back the curtain on the core tech here. It's something called an acoustic data modem.
It's a brilliant three-step dance. First, on the server side, the system encodes the web content. It turns all those digital ones and zeros into a series of audio tones. It kind of sounds like an old dial-up modem, a series of beeps and boops. Then it transmits those sounds over a completely standard voice call. Finally, the app on the user's phone just listens to the call and decodes those tones, putting them all back together into the original data right there on the device.
And here's the most elegant part of the whole thing. All of this happens within that tiny, tiny slice of bandwidth that a normal phone call uses. It's designed to work with the limitations, not fight against them. So let's be super clear here. You are literally downloading information through your phone's earpiece. Not a single byte of mobile data is used. Zero.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's a cool trick, but a voice call can be noisy, right? Connections drop, and you'd be right. Sending data this way is not easy. That's why this isn't just a clever hack, it's an incredibly robust, well-engineered system. Let's look at what makes this connection so strong.
To really make it work, the system basically has 4 superpowers. First, it uses smart compression to shrink the data down as small as possible, which maximizes the speed. Second, it has powerful error correction built in, so if the line gets noisy, it can actually check for mistakes and just ask for that piece again, making sure the data arrives perfectly. Third, everything is encrypted, keeping all the information private and secure. And get this, it can even use a conference call to broadcast the same information to a whole bunch of users at the exact same time.
You can have the most brilliant technology in the world, but if people can't actually use it, then what's the point? And this is where Vidya Sarthi really truly shines. The design is just so focused on the actual user, many of whom might have low literacy or not be super familiar with tech. So instead of a bunch of confusing text on a screen, the app uses what's called a voice-first UI. It actually talks to the user in their own local language with simple prompts, just like this one, guiding them through the whole process. It tells them, hey, the connection has started and now you're receiving the content. It just makes the whole thing feel human. And that thoughtful design goes even deeper. The whole process starts with a secure text message to make sure it's really you. And this is crucial. The app never records any voice, it only listens for and decodes those data tones. Plus, it's a local-first design, meaning none of your personal data ever gets uploaded. And maybe the best part? The content gets cached on your phone for a full 7 days. So you can make one call and then access that weather report or that tutorial all week long, totally offline. Which brings us right back to where we started, that 98% number. It's not just a measure of the problem anymore, is it? Now it's a measure of the potential. It represents the number of people whose lives could be changed, whose access to knowledge could be unlocked by this incredibly innovative idea.
It turns the most basic feature of any phone into an absolute lifeline.
So it really leaves us with this big, powerful question. Vidya Sarthi proves that you don't always need the next big thing, the next shiny object to solve a huge problem. Sometimes the most revolutionary ideas come from looking at the tools we already have, the ones we take for granted, in a completely new way. If a simple voice call can do all this, what other massive gaps are just waiting for us to close using the technology that's already sitting right in our pockets?